and it was go-karting. I have grown up, as I'm sure a lot of you have known, on that street, 181 North Cullen, next to the park with nothing. Mark was at my knee almost every day, messing with my dad, helping him with his cars, or just offering any of his services or whatever. And anybody and anywhere you went, he knew your name. He does not know everybody's name in this place, because you know he does. Okay? And you know he does. And would love to start and have his bike as put on with Feet Fighter Park and have it trained or have it something done to them. But I'm going to start that fund on my own, because I feel that he deserves the rights and the respect that he's given all of you from Glendora. This is not even close to what he's touched. Not even close. And I am willing, and I'm going to make something for his bike, his helmet, and everything. And I think it needs to be set at Feet Fighter Park, because this is Mark at the park. Okay? Period. And they ain't nowhere, go long, go to forms, go to here, when none of that was there. Do you not know? He would know your name. He would know your brother's name. He would know your daughter's name. He would know your grandma's name. He would know everything, and he would remember all of it. He has touched my life in such a way since I have been here, since forever, all my years of high school and everything else, on his bike and everything. But I just feel like all you know, I'm going to give you my information at the end, and I am going to start a fund and a thing for his bike to be put as an icon on that park, because he deserves it. He deserves all respect from everybody in Glendora, because he gave you guys all the respect he had. And he was your friend, everybody's friend. And he knew all your names, and I guarantee you, if he walked through here right now, he would know every one of your names. God bless, and I will miss you very much.
Anybody else? It's kind of hard to follow that.
Hi, I'm Mark's brother. I have the privilege and honor tomorrow of giving one of the formal eulogies. And I have time used to speaking in public, but I'm going to use this microphone. I've been told to. I have the privilege and honor tomorrow of giving one of the two formal eulogies, and I have a time limit. I don't have one tonight. And there's some things I wanted to say. That I never said to Mark during his life. And that is, after my parents, he is the single human being that had the greatest influence on me. If you were to ask me, what is my oldest memory? It's being wrapped up on a winter day on a Denver sidewalk, being pulled in a little red wagon by my big brother. My oldest memory, I was 3 or 4 years old at the time. We moved to California in 1958, and this was before we moved. So my oldest memory in life deals with Mark and a set of wheels. And of course, we know that Mark loved wheels. He loved tractors and bulldozers. He loved his bikes. He loved hot rods and cars. And so this influence that Mark had on me resulted in my own love of hot rods and cars. It extended through the 60s. We went to the drag races in Irwindale dozens of times. I shared a bedroom with Mark for over 21 years. On Wednesday nights, with the windows open, we could hear the bracket races at Irwindale. And Mark and I would talk about, what kind of car do you think that was, Mark? Was it a modified? Was it a funny car? I chose a high school, and I've got a couple of high school buddies here that will tell you. I chose a high school that was 25 miles away because I could go to a school that had an auto shop that would prepare one for a college engineering degree. And I've loved cars all my life. I love music. If you were to ask me what my oldest recollection of hearing a song is, it's sitting with my brother Mark on the living floor with his little 45 player, with a stack of 45s. The oldest songs I recall hearing, Tom Dooley by the Kingston Trio, and a song probably none of you recognize or remember. Do you remember Kathy's Clown by the Everly Brothers? Those are the two songs that I recall, the very first songs I recall hearing with my brother. And if you went to his house now, he has hundreds and hundreds of CDs. Of course, not one CD is in the jewel box. He listened to music every day. And that love of music was instilled with me. I have thousands of LPs and CDs because of Mark's influence. Mark and I went to concerts together. The very first concert I ever went to was in June of 1968 at Citrus College. The band was Steppenwolf.
Nice.
Mark and I went to concerts throughout the years. We saw Led Zeppelin in the summer of '73 in San Diego. We drove down together in my dad's little blue VW. Over the last decade, we've gone to many, many concerts, the last of which was Harry Connick Jr. at the Hollywood Bowl. And that was in the summer of 2010. And it was clear to us at that time that Mark was really starting to wind down. And ever more clear over these last holiday seasons. So, you know, Mark's, and this is not about me, I have never told Mark how thankful I am for his love and influence and giving me hobbies and interests that I will carry to the grave. And so, and lastly, on behalf of the family, I really do want to thank all of you for being here. It is a reflection of Glendora's love for Mark, and of course, Mark's love for Glendora.
Anyone else?
You know, it's interesting, everybody has introduced themselves being Mark first. Well, I'm Mark's neighbor from across the street. We've lived there for 24 years. And what I did, we were out of town when Mark passed away, but I started making up a lost and found list. Jerry, you can attest to this. There must be 250 sets of keys to that house somewhere. Maybe under the bed with brownie wrappers. But you know, Mark was always a joy to be around, and I was kidding with my wife the other day that he, you know, there are two kind of people. I started working in the field, digging ditches in my profession. There are two people. There are shovelers and there are leaners. Mark was definitely a leaner. He'd come over and lean on the shovel as long as you let him lean on the shovel. But if you ever wanted to get rid of Mark, you just gave him a job. To kind of build on what Rick said, what amazed me about Mark is that you could ask him any 70s album, who the producer was, if the drummer broke off and created another band, what their biggest hits were, and we used to, my kids and I used to try and stump them, and you just never could stump Mark. But I think the thing that most of you may not know, because you knew him in the community, you all looked out for him. I think to add to that list, over the 24 years, there were at least 7 bodies that disappeared, and it wasn't necessarily anything to do with Mark other than each time he got a bigger lock, a heavier chain, and you'd ask him, Mark, where was the lock? Oh, it's in the basket. But you know, Rick's right. But what I always worried about with Mark is what he couldn't, but if he ever got to the point where that bike wasn't a part of his life, and he couldn't see all of you, I think that really would have broken his heart. So, in one way, obviously I'm upset that he's gone, but in another sense too, he was winding down, and he had a lot of miles on that heart. And, you know, he just, I think it just kind of gave out. But, you know, he was a good guy, he was a pure soul, so I really don't have anything to worry about, except for all of us, you know, he was a character, and the last 5 years of his life, he had a lot of health problems, and his family took really good care of him. And everybody around him, the neighbors, all the neighbors that knew him are here, we watched out for him. But the neat thing about him was that everybody looked out for Mark. Nobody would get Mark in that time, because any store, anywhere, you know, a few times I'd follow him to the store or be at the store when he got there. And I just watched him before he got into the store. At least 15 people would say, hey Mark, how's it going? His mother used to joke that her name wasn't Betty, it was Mark's mom. Because whenever anybody saw him in the store, they just referred to her, oh, that's Mark's mom. So, you know, it's really great that all of you turned out, and it would be really nice to have a tribute. But you know, having it just in the park is great. But Mark used to go to, 50s flashback was his thing. He always looked forward to that. You know, for a while I worked for the city, and Mark would be at the city hall for bid openings on pipeline jobs. When I first started there's Mark sitting in the audience for the bid opening. I said, Mark, how'd you find out about it? He said, well, I looked in the newspaper. And so for many years, what he would do when I'd come home from work is he'd catch me at the door when he was a little more spry. He'd be coming out of the car and say, hey, you know, told me they're doing a pipeline job down on Grand Avenue, or they're repaving here, or this or that. He owned shirts from every construction company in the city. And when they redid our street, he was in heaven, because they actually set up their morning meeting in front of his house. He made coffee. Now, if I asked him to make coffee with me, he wouldn't make coffee, but he had coffee for the contractors. He was just a pure soul. He just didn't die. We're going to miss him. So, but, you know, you guys treated him very well, and he had a really good life. And luckily, he was able to stay in Glendora, because I think that would have broken his heart, too, if he hadn't moved and go somewhere else. Anyway.
We'll go ahead, we're going to do the next 2 decades of the Rosary. While we're praying, meditating, you know, more stories of Mark. Keep them in mind. There'll be plenty of opportunities to share this evening. We have no time limit tonight, so you are free to stay as long as you want, and I will stay with you. As long as people want to share, we'll be here. If the battery runs out of this, we'll go up to the front. But you can share, tell stories about Mark, the person that was such an icon in our community. I'm sure you can find really that small town feel of Glendora. It wasn't Glendora without him. Growing up as a kid, I used to see him everywhere. When we were riding our bikes, we would ride by him, we would run blocks, those things. And he was just such a part of the city. And I was sharing with Rick beforehand that when you saw Mark, no matter how bad the day was, you knew everything was going to be okay, because he always had a smile on his face. He was always riding that bike just like there was no tomorrow. And you know, it just sort of brightened everybody's day just to see him. Even if you didn't get to talk to him, just seeing him ride by, it sort of elevated your day, and he's a wonderful presence. So we'll continue to pray for Mark and for ourselves